Talking Memphis Wrestling with Randy Hales and special guests.
Silence. It can be strong, it can be interesting. The spoken word. It can be loud, it can be powerful. It can result in the start of a long term relationship, or the spoken word can result in the end of a long term relationship. The written word, it can be entertaining, interesting, and either funny or sad. And at its worst, it can be full of false information and even lies. Hello, everybody. Randy Hales, talking Memphis Wrestling. Appreciate you joining the show today. And I'll be honest with my friends that's watching this show, and we'll get to the comments as soon as we can. But I do have a statement. Man, last night got a phone call about 9 o'clock, 9:15 at night. It made me think that I did not do need to do a show tonight. Throughout the day today, I was thinking the same thing, but getting one good piece of information after another good piece of information after another good news, I decided to go ahead and do the show. Talking Memphis Wrestling, and we'll get to it in a few minutes, and we will do the regular show. You know, I've known Jerry Lawler since I was around 10 years old, and he was about 22 years old. I've known him for a long time. So when you talk about different sources, I think you can put me in the lines of a expert as far as the professional wrestling career of Jerry Lawler, and I've been around him. I've uh, been a fan. He's been an owner of a wrestling company, and I've worked for him. I've been an owner of a wrestling company. He's worked for me. He's been owner of a bar and grill on Bill Street in Memphis, and I've worked for him. Jerry Lawler is one of the people responsible for me having my very first break in professional wrestling in the office. So I love Jerry Lawler. I love Jerry Lawler yesterday. I love Jerry Lawler 50 years ago, and I'll love Jerry Lawler 10 years from now. I just love me some Jerry Lawler. Now, part of this is knowing well Jerry Lawler, and I can tell you what he hates. He will hate all this. He's a very private person, an absolute private person, 110%. So I've talked to Dave Brown, and I've talked to the medical power of attorney, and I've talked to Jerry Calhoun. A lot of these people are as close as family. So I have a lot of information. However, this is a medical situation, and this is a developing situation, and I will not share the information, even though I know our audience wants to hear. I will say this, that there's been a ton of improvement, and the progress looks like it is going to be real good. It's looking good, people. Thank the Lord. Praise the Lord. Certainly thank everybody for all the prayers, all the thoughts, all the well wishes. Now, as we see the king in that great little picture looking happy as he can be. Long live the king. The king will return, and I'm looking forward to when that happens. But at this point forward, that's all the information I am going to have for you. We will be seeing Jerry in some of the clips today, some of the great moments that he had, and I think you will enjoy it. And we have a lot of stuff to talk about and to discuss and to see, a lot of classic stuff, but we certainly wanted to start out with that statement. I want to bring on right now, and this is the senior member, the guy that's been here the longest as far as a guest on Talking Memphis Wrestling before it was video format, when it was just a Twitter audio only show. For the first time in several weeks, I want to welcome to the show Pat Trammell. What's going on, Pat?
I'm just glad to be back and well and eloquently said about the king. He's in all of our prayers, and I'm sure he can feel that. And thank you for framing that. And good to see everybody. I've missed you all very much.
All right, I appreciate that very much. A big Jerry Lawler fan from the same town that I am in now, that I am from, my hometown, his hometown, for the first time in God knows how long. Chris Ellis with thoughts on just what watching the career, Chris, of Jerry Lawler has meant for you as a wrestling fan and as a resident of Jonesboro, Arkansas.
Oh, he was one of my heroes growing up. That's who I wanted to be like. When I was on the trampoline, I was imitating Jerry Lawler. When I was holding a pencil and talking on the microphone, I was imitating Jerry Lawler. Loved him all my life since I was 6 probably first time I ever saw him. And I'm 56, so that's 50 years. So I want to send all my prayers and well wishes to him. And Randy, your open was tremendous. Very well done. And I know everyone's keeping you in our thoughts and prayers. And look, I mean, all of our people comment tonight. Yes, Barry. Hey, I am from Jonesboro, born and raised proudly.
Tell them what school you went to.
I did not go to the Open the Roof school. I went to the good school. I went to Nelson.
Hey,
Go Raiders.
go Raiders. And I was lucky enough to be born in a part of town and be a part of a town where I went to the major high school in the community, not some small little part that's not so small. That's really grown. The school districts around here is really grown. So Barry's in the house and Scott Art is in the house, and I appreciate everybody. Ahmad is in the house, PJ, and so many other people. Any thoughts that you might have before we get going? We lost your signal right before we went on the air. You were trying to tell me, and we'll just conduct business right now. You have to step out at some point. When do you need to step out? That way I can decide what direction I need to go in here on this show.
Well, if you want to talk some, and we had talked about talking some about the financial side of WWE and what's happening with the potential sale. There's something really good in the Wrestling Observer about that. I'd like to review. It'll take about 5 minutes. So uh, anyway,
This is the comment that I'll make on that, because not me normally. Normally I'm positive, and this is obviously a video show about classic Memphis wrestling and classic professional wrestling, but we have to be realist and understand how big, as a business and a public traded business, professional wrestling has been. One of the things Dave Meltzer gets a lot of knocking, he should get a lot of knocking, and I blame him for smarting up half the world and by telling the magic and how the magic of professional wrestling is done. And I strongly 100% realize I'm being hypocritical, because I just gave in, and I do a show right now that talk about the magic of professional wrestling as we are celebrating it. There's no doubt about it. But Meltzer does a great job talking about the finances. And I think it's important for Pat, who's our money guy here, that deals with banking in his everyday life, and certainly I think it's important to let people know how they're doing. So Pat Trammell is going to go to the Wrestling Observer newsletter that he reviewed the information. What did you think, and what did you get out of that, Pat?
Well, that Meltzer was giving a summary of what's called um, the investor call, and if you're a publicly traded company, which I work for now, we sold. Many of you might know, I sold my business to a publicly traded bank in March 3rd of this last year, and every quarter there's a call with management, with stock analysts and investors, and really anybody that wants to listen. Anybody can dial in, and we ought to pop that number up sometime. It might be interesting to you. But there was a lot of discussion today. Tony Khan generally does the presentation on that, and there was a lot of discussion in the last call about where the company was. And
Can I
you know,
interrupt you, Pat? Can I
sure,
interrupt you real quick? Did you say Tony Khan?
I may have said Tony Khan. I didn't mean to say Tony Khan.
It is Nick Khan.
It's
There's
Nick
two
Khan. That's
Khans
right.
running major wrestling promotions. I
Right.
just wanted to throw that in.
Yeah, yeah, and thank you for that. But anyway, I've never heard Paul Levesque run one of those calls, and I've never heard. I've never been on one that Vince was on, so I don't know. But and I don't participate. But you can dial in and listen. And somewhere on the internet, there's a recording of it. But he talked about, generally those calls are, you review the last quarter's financial results, where the revenue came from. Was revenue up? Was it down? Was the mix of where they get revenue different? What do they see as an outlook? And in this particular call, because people are interested, he addressed and answered questions. Some people that follow, there are stock analysts that specifically follow WWE, and that's their job. And they write analysis and make recommendations for investors whether to buy or not. And they're permitted to ask questions. And several questions came up about the potential sale. What was Vince's involvement? How will that matter? What is Vince said he would do? What does the business look like? And it all comes down to, what is that business worth, and what can they expect to sell it for? And I've got some ideas about that we can talk about at the appropriate time.
I don't understand this comment. David Linville says, I think this thing with WWE is just another rib or gotcha by Vince, just my opinion. What does that even mean? I don't understand that.
Well, I think maybe what David's saying is he doesn't have any intention of selling it. It's and David, I don't want to speak for you, but it's like when Vince retired, and now he seems to be back in some manner. And I don't, and I we on a show probably a year or so ago, when, well, it may not have been that long ago, but when the allegations were first made against Vince, and what would that mean to the company and the stock. And we talked about the WWE is a publicly traded company. Okay, I work for a bank called Renaissance Corporation, and if there's a Renaissance in Memphis on the corner of Poplar and 240. That's our Memphis headquarters. We're in 5 states. Um, anybody can be an owner of Renaissance Bank. Anybody can be an owner of the WWE. You can call a stockbroker and say, "Hey, buy me 5 shares or 5 million shares." Um, but the WWE is a public company. Is as a public company is very unique, and it presents some challenges. If they're trying to sell the company, and the way it's unique is this. Um, it it's if you buy a 10 shares in a public company, let's say Federal Express, when there is a shareholder meeting, and things come before the shareholders, you get to vote your shares. You say, somebody will say, there's a, somebody recommends that we buy 747 airplanes. Well, if I've got 10 shares of FedEx, I can say, yeah, I'll vote for that, or I can say I vote against that. And the majority, things are either voted up or down. And that's how a standard, that's how, as far as I know, any other public company works. The WWE is different. The WWE public shares are not the voting. All of those shares are not voting shares. The only people that have voting shares in WWE is Vince and the family. So you can own it. Uh, you can own it. You can get dividends from it, which owners do. I forget what the stock's trading at, but it may be trading at $50, and I should have looked that up, and I apologize. And you might get a dividend once a quarter of $2, but you don't have a vote. Vince, there's two classes of stock. There's voting shares and non-voting shares. And Vince owns, and or the family, but I think Vince actually owns controlling interest in the voting shares. So you can only own the WWE as a financial investment. You can't own it and affect management. If for example, our bank, and we have a very fine chairman, very fine leader, but if the shareholders decided, and if he had if our chairman had an incident like Vince pop up, for example, the shareholders could get together and vote him out and just say, somebody could make a resolution that we think he needs to leave. This is not in the best interest of our company. You can't do that in the WWE. Vince decided to leave on his own. Now, there were prudent business reasons that he needed to do that, and it is a risk for him to come back. But then again, there's a risk in the WWE for Vince not being there. So it's a very interesting case study.
Very good, very interesting. Does that about cover it, Pat?
Well, and maybe we'll get past this and get on the other thing. I want to I'll make a comment about the potential sale of the company.
Okay, go ahead.
The company has earnings of right at $800 million a year. That's cash flow earnings, not depreciation or interest or any of that kind of stuff. Generally, I think I would expect that company to trade at 14 to 15 times earnings, which means it's probably worth somewhere between 10 to 12 billion dollars. They have revenue of about $2 billion a year. No, about $1.7 billion a year, I think. Almost half of that is in the TV contract. The TV contract's about $600 million a year. The TV and all that goes with it. That's a 5-year contract. So if I think there will be a discount on that standard price, because if you get to the end of 5 years and it's not doing well, somebody may not renew that contract, or they may renew that contract at a lower level. Now, they may renew that contract at a much higher level, but I think with all the uncertainty with what's going on with Vince, I think there's going to be a discount on it. I think that thing's probably worth about eight. I think it's probably worth in the $8 to $10 billion range, and I think you'll see a couple of networks and maybe a streaming service in it. And if at the point you want me to, I can talk about how those companies get sold and how all that works. But you probably don't want to do that right now. But if you do, I
Got
can
a
talk
lot
to
of
that.
stuff, and I do like talking about the current stuff, just real quick, the thoughts that Chris Ellis has on modern wrestling and what a big deal the WWE is, Chris.
Back up. I think it's had an upward trend since Vince went back up. Since Vince was gone. I'm not sure how Vince coming back will impact it, if at all, because it seems like Triple H is taking it in a different direction. And of course, the merchandise sales, having been in the racing industry where merchandise is big part of their income, the merchandise sales is never fallen off to my knowledge. So that's a big, big part of it too. Of course, TV money drives all sports / entertainment. TV money's streaming money, TV money, that's where it's all at.
No doubt about it. We got some great video coming up, and we'll talk about the year 1986. We'll get to that in a minute. We let off the show as we talked about the situation with Jerry Lawler now, and our thoughts and prayers are out there for him. We do want to talk about a bit of news that we did not know last Tuesday when we did Talking Memphis Wrestling, and that the Memphis wrestling community and the wrestling community of the whole lost a great, great talent, as we lost last Thursday Lanny Poffo. Lanny Poffo, the son of Angelo and Judy Poffo, the brother of Macho Man Randy Savage. He was born on December the 28th, 1954. He passed away on February the 2nd, 2023, age 68 years old. Thoughts and prayers to friends and family of Lanny Poffo. I saw Lanny last in January, and we might have that picture that AEW did a tribute to Memphis Wrestling Night. And real quick, as people's ask who's who, at the far left is Brandon Baxter, then Lance Russell's son, Shane Russell, then Robert Gibson, then Rick Morton, then Handsome Jimmy Valiant, then Kevin Lawler, then the Universal Heartthrob Austin Idol, then Dave Brown, then the owner, the founder and president of Power Pro Wrestling, ORH himself, Randy Hills. Next to me is Dangerous Doug Gilbert, and the person on the far right is Lanny Poffo. A few weeks ago, when we did the year 1984, we showed a great Rock and Roll Express deal where Randy Savage pile drove Rick Morton. There were some interviews about that from Savage and Poffo and the Rock and Roll, and we're going to take a look at that video, our first video of the day on the February the 7th edition of Talking Memphis Wrestling. Hey, everybody.
Your smiling face to talk. Are we sexy or are we not?
Yeah, you really think that's something? You almost break a guy's neck on a table in there and
man.
go around
You were
bragging
great,
about
man, because Poffo-mania is going to go from team to team to team. Tell Tojo Yamamoto that. Tell Stan and Steve that. And go to us.
Hey, you're not done with Rock and Roll Express yet. Rick Morton and Robert Gibson are still. They're back.
What about the pile driver, baby?
Yeah, I know, but listen, they'll be back in action. Let's listen to what they had to say about the whole thing.
You know, Rick, when we left the Mid-South area, we went looking for a national ranking. And, brother, we got that. You know, we were ranked in the top 5 in the world today. And we ain't about to come back home and let 3 punks, I'm talking about the Poffo-mania. Son, we ain't coming back here and let y'all make us out of a stepping stone, because you ain't looking at the old Rock and Roll Express. You're looking at the new Rock and Roll Express, baby. And we're going to show you why we're ranked in the top 5 in the world today.
That's right, brother. You know, I want to relay a little message back to the Poffo-mania. You know, the last time we wrestled these guys in Memphis, Tennessee, you stepped in the ring and you hit us with lefts, you hit us with rights, you even run my head in the post and even got up on top and power drive me on top of the table out on the floor. Well, brother, when that match was over, you still seen us get up and walk back to that dressing room, brother. Now I want to tell you just a little something, brother. Now, you can do all you want to, you can say all you want to, but the Rock and Roll Express is coming back home. Now, it's tag teams like you that made us what we are today, made us where we don't care. And when you see us again, you're going to see why we don't care, brother. We're going to step in that ring, and we're going to beat you. Now, either you could fly with the Eagles, or you could scratch with the chickens. Brother, the Rock and Roll Express loves to fly high, and I'm telling you that right now. So Randy Savage, Lanny Poffo, Angelo Poffo, do all you can, brother, because you're going to see the Rock and Roll Express. We're coming back home, brother. We're coming back home to take care of some business. Like I said before, we don't care what we do and how we do it. We're coming to win. We're not talking about putting your shoulders down on the ring for a 3 count. We're talking about winning. Now, I don't care if we have to roll out on the floor, get a chair, bring a chain, or even a baseball bat, brother. The Rock and Roll Express is coming back.
Revenge, baby.
And when we get through with you, brother, you're going to wish you never even heard of the Rock and Roll Express. Like I said, yeah, you hurt my neck, but my pride was hurt a heck of a lot more. And we're coming home. We're coming home to get you. So you remember, the Rock and Roll Express, the new one, we're coming back. Woo!
Your way.
There's no doubt about it.
Is that a threat?
Yeah, that's exactly what they had.
Or is that stupid, man? Because we make the Road Warriors look like little kids walking around the street. Half Stan and Steve, half the rock and roll.
Lance, I have to admit, I was viewing that tape with a great deal of skepticism. But after having seen it and judging it merely for its content, I have to say, when you sift out all the hey babies and the rock and roll jargon, of which I am not familiar, but I have made a study from a little bit behind the scenes, they don't care what they're going to do as long as they do it. In other words, the end justifies the means. In other words, the worst form of motivation is revenge. Revenge is one thing that no man should put us under, because there is no satisfaction that comes from revenge, even from victory. What we are talking about is decadent filth. Rock and roll, in its essence, is taking young men and women and making them slaves to sins of the flesh and sins of pleasure. I stand for courage, purity, honesty, humility, diligence, charity, and fidelity.
Well, that gave you an idea about Pop-O-Mania. Well, let me tell you, Rick and Robert...
Don't tell us nothing! Don't tell us nothing! Let me tell you something! 6033 in the corner in Pop-O-Mania, yeah. The sexiest team that nobody can do anything about. Don't talk to him no more!
All right, that's good. We don't want to talk to you anymore anyhow.
Throw me off!
All right. We'll take time out, and we'll get back around here before we get in the middle of Pop-O-Mania.
Rest in peace to Lanny Poffo. Want to bring in Chris Ellis real quick with his thought on that little crazy interview.
Well, I was always a huge Savage fan, but Lanny's gimmick was really good because it was so different. He was very well spoken and articulate, and he utilized it in a great manner. And he's very athletic, very much of a huge athlete, just like his brother, just totally different personalities and totally different, I'm assuming, on and off screen. So it's another great loss for the wrestling community and for people who love the territory days of wrestling.
Pat, I would love to hear your words on Lanny Poffo and also comments from that crazy interview that we took a look at.
Well, I think Chris summed it up better than I could. I would be interested. I don't know if you spend any time with them, Randy,
Yes.
during their wrestling days, but they seem so. They obviously, everybody has their gimmick, okay, and we understand that. Were they that different from each other outside the ring? Because they seem like two totally different guys.
Absolutely. And the reason in ICW, Angelo Poffo's promotion in Lexington, Kentucky, the top babyface was Lanny Poffo. The top heel was Randy Savage. The people didn't know they were brothers. Can you tell they're brothers at all?
No, not really. I'll tell you what, I will say this. One thing I noticed, Randy was cut, but he did not have that bulk up that he had in WWE, enhanced or not. And and I know the guy was really athletic. I mean, I think he played double A catcher for the Cardinals. But yeah, they were different. But you know, Lanny was he. I mean, both those guys were tremendous athletes.
No doubt about it. Rest in peace and prayers. Lanny Poffo. I love old Lanny. He was a great, great guy, and it was great to see him at the AEW event in South Haven in 2020. It's timeline time. We get into the timeline. We ended last week by going back to the late December loser leave town match, a brutal match. Jerry Lawler, Bill Dundee. At stake was Jerry Lawler leaving town. Against at stake was Bill Dundee's hair and Beverly Dundee's hair, and it ended up where Bill Dundee won the match. So the year started of 1986. It was a year without Jerry Lawler, and business-wise, it was pretty rough. It was pretty rough for sure, and they fed Bill Dundee opponents. One of the opponents was somebody had been in the territory before, a gentleman called Big Red Reese. He passed away in March of 2022. So this past year at 52 years old, a big guy he had a lot of charisma, wasn't the greatest worker in the world, like a whole lot of big men weren't. They had a match, Dundee and Big Red, and Bill Dundee went to Randy West office and did commentary with Buddy Landell. It's classic commentary. It's a good little funny, entertaining piece. So we'll see Big Red, Bill Superstar Dundee from January 1986. This is a pretty lengthy video. This is 9 minutes, 33 seconds, but it's entertaining as we continue with Talking Memphis Wrestling.
We're going to be ready to go here with our opening bout. Bill Superstar Dundee, the Southern Heavyweight Champion, coming out.
I need to talk to you. Come on over here.
What? Just...
I need to talk to you, Lance Russell.
What, Bill?
And I know it's early in the morning. Some of you ladies are sitting over there looking at a little bowl of grits, and there's a big fat redneck sitting across the table from you, and you said, oh my God, I got to look at him every... But no, you don't. You just look at the TV set, and you're looking at the living legend and the superstar. And I know I'm making your day. And tonight you're going to go home with your old man, and he's going to get all loving, and you're going to be thinking of the superstar because you saw him first thing this morning. But I'm supposed to climb in this ring right now and wrestle Jim Jamison.
I'm glad you know that. We've got a match coming up, right?
Wrong, that ain't going to take place because when you're the living legend, the superstar, and the Southern Heavyweight Champion, you get a little pull around here, and I ain't wrestling Jim Jamison. You know why, Lance Russell? Because
no.
It would be boring. But I got something else for you now. All week long since I beat up Big Red Reese, the people that like the whales have been calling me insane. And the people that are cruelty to animal people have been calling up and saying, Superstar, why did you beat on that big whale like that? I didn't beat on him too bad, so I got me a little tape, and I'm going to show it to you all. And last week I invited Buddy Landell over to my house and Dirty Dutch Mantel, because your commentary was horrible on that, Lance Russell. You wasn't telling the people how it was. So they come over to my private screening room. Buddy Landell sat there. I sat in the middle. Dirty Dutch Mantel. We re-commentated the match. Now, if you talk to the man upstairs, he'll show it to you, and we'll see what you did last week.
Okay, keep your finger on the audio. You don't know what's going to be. Have we got it? Okay, let's take a look at it.
All right, you folks in Memphis, you would all like to be here, but you can't be here because the superstar of the living legend, the nature boy, and the Dutchman's here. All my friends in our personal viewing room, my little library at my home here. And we've taken this opportunity because I have been getting bombarded with letters from the people that get mad at you if you're cruel to animals. Now, you know, and well, a whale's an animal. You know, I know most people think animals is four-legged people, but they ain't. Whales are animals. They're mammals. They suckle the young. That's what makes you an animal. People are animals. So they've been calling me up and writing me letters about being bad to Big Red. Well, I was, you know, listen, he is a whale of a man, right, Budro? What would you
That's
think?
right, Bill. What's it feel like to have so many titles? You're the Southern Heavyweight Champion, the living legend,
and now the giant killer, brother.
Oh, I never thought of that, but that's a good line, the giant killer. But the main thing that we're here, folks, is because Dutchman, you know, you've read some of the letters. They were mad at us because we were beating up on a whale-type man. You know, if we'd been real bad, what would we done to him? We would have harpooned him, wouldn't we? There's the telephone ringing. It's probably Britt Eklund, or it's probably Fawcett calling you nature boy. It never quits here, folks. I'm telling you, it's terrible to be a sex symbol, ain't it, brother?
It's hell, brother. The trouble me, you, and Tom Selleck have with our women, we could write novels about it.
Dutchman, what do you think? You were there. You saw this in live and living color. You only came down at the end of this match to pull me off him, didn't you?
To pull you off him. You know, you remember that whale in California that kept going up the Sound and kept getting lost, and they kept trying to turn him loose and they're trying to shoot him back to the ocean? People wonder what happened to him. Well, you see right there, that big thing in the green, that big blob there, is the whale that finally went to the ocean and then come back as a wrestler. And Bill, you got him in the ring right there. I mean, we're going to show the people the difference between swimming in the ocean and being
Corday had a green suit made for him. He changed his name to Big Red. They saved that whale, folks. Now you're looking at it. Budrow, we'll take a little rest here because strategy's the main thing when you're wrestling a giant, ain't it? You got to have him on your grounds. And we have him here. Big Red's all anxious, wants to go, but we're just going to tire him out a little bit. Big Red, look at that. He looks like a big old leprechaun right there. Some people, no class, they're yelling for the superstar.
See, he's even got his colors messed up. See, Big Red, but he's got a green outfit on. That don't even make sense at all.
It's like a frog in a blender, don't
Well, yeah, he does. Now, here we go. Here's some people telling me, go ahead, Bill, kill him. But I don't want to do that because, like we said, folks, we just wanted to beat him up a little bit. We didn't want to hurt the whale. We would have harpooned him. Oh, good move there. Good technical wrestling move, Budrow. What do you think?
Exactly right.
Good right hook. There's another good one. Oh, well, that was a flat of the foot. All that's legal, folks. That's a good elbow right there. That's a cute little devil in that superstar outfit. Yes, it is. Oh, it's me.
He's sticking his head running right into your fist. I can't understand that.
Now, here we go. Now, there's a dancing whale, folks. Classic example. He's either Kermit the Frog or a dancing whale. Looks more like Kermit in that outfit. Here we go now. Oh, Miss Piggy be coming down here in a minute. Tell us not to do it. Oh, there's Miss Piggy sitting right there, two of them. Just take another little rest here, Budrow. Talk to them girls out there, Budrow. Tell them how nice you are.
Well, it's obvious, superstar, that the reason why you're back and the reason why I'm here is because the women around the Memphis area and Nashville.
Excuse me for a minute, Budrow. I thought you looked a little tired, so I just threw that chair in there, and I'm telling them, have a little rest, Big Red. Sit on it. Excuse me, go ahead.
Well, as I was saying, it's obvious the women are starved for the sight of a real man, and we're talking about the epitome of manhood right here. Watch yourself there, but what's it like to see yourself beating a whale up on TV, huh?
Well, this is the first time I've ever wrestled Big Red, and the first time. Oh, good drop kick too. Yes, sir. Come here, Dutchman.
Yes, sir.
Come on down here because you come down here to tell me. Look at this now. I think Big Red.
I should have come earlier.
That's when you should have come and
I was afraid the whale was going to die of cardiac arrest there, and I was getting concerned in the back because we really don't want to kill nobody. We just want to beat him up and humiliate him and run him out of town. You know who I'm talking about there.
Oh, yeah, he done good. What was his name? Jerry what?
Jerry somebody. I can't remember his name.
Was it a wrestler around here? Jerry something? Something like that. Had a silly hat, green and little red thing with stars instead of...
Real margin, man.
Yeah, oh, yeah, Jerry something. I don't know. He gone anyway. Run him out of town. Well, here we go now. I was just going to hold him down, give him mouth-to-mouth resuscitation because I thought he was going to die right there, and referee pulled me off him. Don't know why. Come on, Kermit, get up. Well, that's a technical wrestling move. I just helped him up the sole of my foot.
See how that weight shifts when you kick him in the side there, Bill?
looks like a water bed. Oh, here we go. Kermit going to dance a little bit now. Buddy, this is Dutchman. Come here, because just about the time you start to feel sorry for him, you come down and say, Bill, don't do it no more. That good right hook.
I wonder what size bra he wears. It looks like he just had a litter of puppies.
I know. Oh, now that was an illegal blow. I don't know. The referee should have disqualified him right there. Five minutes. I thought we'd be sitting here a week. Just 5 minutes gone past. Well, I'm here one thing. Jack Cousteau's got to be real nice to us from now on, because we could have harpooned this jerk anytime we wanted. Whoops. Oh, yeah, I'm telling you.
Man, I'm so quick, brother. Me and Dutch one time, we was laying in a hotel room in Louisiana, and we went to bed and flicked off the switch. And I said that all back. What you tell him how we did it, Dustman?
Oh, we were so fast. Bill said hit the switch. We was in the bed half asleep before the room got dark. Now I'm talking fast now. Look at that.
Now that's fast, bud, right? Now this is it, Dutch. You feel real sorry. You see he can't get up. Look, the man has just run out of whatever. It keeps us athletes going. Steam, I think. Now look at that. Look. See now?
He hit me for no
That's
reason.
right, and a chain fell out of his back pocket, and I just happened to pick it up. Now, I'll give the man credit. He was a little smart here. He blocked that punch, and he knocked me down. I fell over, kind of slipped.
Now, look, he's trying to grab me.
Now, that's right, see?
He hit me, and he's still trying to.
Just like a whale. Whales are big and dumb. Otherwise, they wouldn't get harpooned so easy when them little guys went in them boats and them harpoons and did it. Now, here's the harpoon, brother. There he goes. 400 pounds of blubber there, folks. Going to turn them into whale oil.
Like you pull a whale off a beach.
That's right.
Beached on the beach there.
There it is.
Two, three.
All over. That's right. Well, Jack Cousteau, we didn't hurt him up too bad, and all you whale lovers, there it is. Budro, say goodbye to the nice folk.
Bye. Well, could I tell you, Lancer, that wasn't quite as boring as being out Jameson, but I just want to tell you all something. Want to tell all you people out there something. Buddy Landell, the Nature Boy, Dirty Dutch Mantell, and the Superstar, they ain't got nothing against fat people. They ought to take every one of you, lock you in a room, and make you listen to Jerry Lawler records. Well, folks, like I told you, we're going to take a little break now, because I'm taking over right here. Take a little break. We'll be back. Bye-bye.
Big Red, who was a member of the 2022 December class of the Memphis Wrestling Hall of Fame. That's right, folks. Memphis Wrestling Hall of Fame. How the mighty has fallen. Anyway, it's time for a hot tag on this show. He has a senior game at Southside High School. He came back for about 40 minutes for the first time in a long time. It's time to say, go to a ball game. Good night, Chris, and it was certainly great to see you today.
Good night, everybody. Great to see Pat, Randy, Adam. Tell MSJ I said hello.
You have to make the tag. You have to make the tag, man.
There's a tag.
He made the tag, the hot tag, and here he comes in blowing the comeback, fired up from Alabama, Michael St. John.
Hey, guys, and thanks for the hot tag. I hadn't had a hot tag in a while. It's always good to have one, right, Pat? Hey, Pat, Pat's eating popcorn.
That's what she said.
And exactly, that's what she said. Hey, thank you. Welcome in. I know I missed the serious portion of the show that you guys talked about our good friend, Jerry Lawler. Our prayers are being heard because he's getting better. And I'm just happy. I'm happy to hear that.
Absolutely.
We're happy to have you on the show. There's no doubt about it. And I want to explain something because we saw first of all, Pat, we'll go with you. Brief comments. What did you think about that piece of business? Big Red Reese, who I think, if memory serves me correct, he passed away. He had been a minister in the Atlanta, Georgia area. What did you think about Big Red Reese against Bill Dundee with commentary by Dundee, Mandel, and Landale?
I thought two things. I thought, number one, you're right. Big Red was a big guy, but not a whole lot else in the ring. But I thought that Dundee had an amazing match with him, and it just shows what sort of talent in the ring Bill Dundee had. I mean, he doesn't get enough credit for some things, such as, he was usually the smaller guy in the ring, but he could work with anybody. He could have a good match with anybody, and, Lawler gets a lot of credit for that, and rightfully so. But I think Dundee is underappreciated for that. The second thing I thought is I would have liked to have seen a first family reincarnation with Heel Dutch, Heel Dundee, and Buddy Landell. I think that'd have been great.
Very good comments. Real quick before we go to the next video, your memories of any experiences you had watching or working with Big Red Reese, Michael St. John.
I'll be honest with you, Randy, I don't remember him.
Is
I
that
remember
right?
seeing him on TV, but I don't remember working with him.
He had a run in the 70s, and then he had a run again. None of his runs were long at all. I thought the commentary by Dundee, Landale, and Mantell was very entertaining.
I thought it was very entertaining, and of course, a spoof takeoff. A lot of them making fun, of course, of the commentary and spoofing on Dave and Lance. I agree with you. I think, and it was it was totally different. We hadn't seen it before. Of course, you see it the first time, and it's always good.
Michael watched with us last week as we had a wonderful show as we covered 1985. And the last video we showed last week was the 1985 December Loser Leave Town match. And it was just a dynamite match with Jerry Lawler and Bill Dundee. Started the year without Jerry Lawler, obviously. And that was big. And attendance was not big as crowds really went down, and they had to come up with the story, even though it was a loser leave town for a year match, and they couldn't wait a year because they were worried about the survival of the company. So they had to think of a genius way. Now, this is edited, and it does not show one classic afterbirth of this, but I wanted to let everybody know, and Adam can put the address up there. The full show on, I believe the date was, it was either March the 8th or April the 8th of the Evansville, Indiana feed of the Memphis television show. And it's basically the Return of the King. It's also titled The Introduction to Wrestling of Jeff Jarrett. This is just 2 minute plus thing, and this one is a great angle. But as we put the YouTube address up there, the full show is on my YouTube page. See, I'm trying to bait and switch a little bit because I'm trying to drive you to the YouTube page to figure out that page and to sample that page and get me numbers on the page. And a lot of you have, and a lot of you haven't, but the full 1 hour version of the 90-minute show, and it's just very interesting. I think it's the best money TV, and this deal led to the absolute last sellout pro wrestling for the Memphis Wrestling Promotion at the Mid-South Coliseum in Memphis, Tennessee, and that has to go back to 1986. We're going to see Jeff Jarrett's intro in wrestling. He starts this match as a referee. He soon will join the ranks as a pro wrestler in a few weeks. It is this major emotional hot deal. We'll come back after this video straight to Michael with Michael's comments, and then from Michael we'll go to Pat, then we'll go back to me to a pitch to the next video. And the next video after this one will be that match with Landale and Bill Dundee against Dutch Mantell and Jerry Lawler. But first, Jeff Jarrett's introduction to wrestling on Talking Memphis Wrestling from 1986.
Men they are. Oh, Johnson thrown over the top rope. Hey, come on.
Adele, they're just attacking the referee.
That'll cost you. Jeff Jarrett refereeing this match, and Landell just slammed him. There goes Jameson out of the ring. Here comes Jerry Jarrett, just stand in, and he nails Dundee. Nails Buddy Landell, and right back at Dundee. This is Jerry's son that was refereeing. Landell got him from behind. And Dundee slams him with a right, puts him down on the deck. Come on, this thing's getting out of hand now. God, Dundee's going for his eyes, Dave. He's only got one good eye in there. Come on. kid up a year out of high school, and they jump on him in there because he's trying to stop him from doing the damage they were doing to Jameson and all.
Kid just doing his job here. And then his dad comes out to help him. They know Jerry's only got one good eye, and they go after it.
And start gouging in the eye. That's the sickest thing I ever saw. I'll tell you one thing, that is absolutely ridiculous. With guys, something's got to be done about guys. I've had enough people, and I know you have too, Dave, say, are you guys just going to let Dundee take over the entire program? And the answer to that is no. Something's going to be done about it, because I'll tell you one thing, I know Marlon's going to do something, Jerry will do, and I can guarantee you this is one place I'm not objective about the thing. It's ridiculous. It's bad enough when they come out here and do some of the things they do to like Jameson and Johnson. Sure, they're their opponents. You go in there, you beat them in that, but you don't start beating them around. And then you jump on a kid just out of high school like that. Then his dad comes out and tries to protect him naturally, and the next thing you know, they're in there digging at his eye, the only eye. He's got one bad eye, and they're digging at the only good eye he had. Something's got to be done about it. That is sick.
Vance, I don't know what I'm going to do. Oh, God. Listen.
We can talk about it later, Jerry. You don't need to do it right now. I mean, hey, you did whatever you could.
Listen.
Savage guys come out here and start going after the eye. That's the important thing. Let's worry about that now. Jeff is okay. He's going to be all right. Let's go. Okay.
All right. Yeah, let's go on with the match, okay? All right. All right, referee Jerry. That's Bobby Fulton in there. Hold on. Hold on. Hey, hold it just a minute, referee. Hold it. Can we stop just for a minute? Eddie Marlin.
I want to tell you something. Jerry Jarrett's been in my family for a long time. He's a leader. He knows what to do in any circumstances. This is the first time that I've ever seen him in this situation. They tried to put out his one good eye. When he got his eye put out, he didn't cry about it. He did tell very few people, but I knew about it. They beat up my grandson. They put him out. Jerry don't know what to do, but I know what to do. He's the leader, and when he's around, I'll say, what do you want to do, Jerry? And he'll tell me. But he's not here to tell me now, and I know what to do. It's one man that I know of that I can put in there with Dutch Mantell, and they can take care of those two guys. And that one man is Jerry Lawler. I don't care about the contract, Bill Dundee. You can sue me. You can sue the company. You can put us out of business. But Jerry Lawler, I'm going to go get him on the phone right now. And if I can get Jerry Lawler to come here, he will be against Dundee and Landell. Now, I'm going to call him on the phone, and if I can get him, he will be here.
All right.
And it's no big secret that I fell out with Landell.
Wow. That's some strong stuff. I guess I'm the only one here. Hi, everybody. Michael St. John. Good to have you here. Glad to be with Randy and the crew. They made it believable. We got some great comments coming in about that. You know, the thing that I got the most out of that clip and remembering back when that happened and talking about it was the fact that Jerry Jarrett sold something that had already been well sold in the ring when he came out and was in no condition to make the interview, and Lance took him off. To me, that was, you know, again, human emotion, selling tickets, real things, selling tickets, real personal issues, selling tickets. And nobody did it better. Nobody does it better. And that's the honest to goodness fact. I don't know who's on here with me. I hope I'm doing a soliloquy here. I'm lost.
I wrote you a director's note that said we'd come straight from you. I asked you to answer Al's question about your thoughts of Lanny Poffo. Then after you talked about that angle that you just did, and you did, then we were going to go straight to Pat for his opinion of that. But before we get to Pat's comments on that great classic video that led to the sellout, I want you to share for Al your memories of Lanny Poffo that we lost last Thursday.
Well, first of all, I always liked the Poffo family. I respected Angelo very, very much. I got to do some independent announcing for them after Nick Gulas's territory went away and Jerry bought it out. Lanny and Randy and his dad ran some independent. I think it was called IPW or ICW, and I got to do at Channel 17 in Nashville, which was a smaller studio than the studios we, of course, did in Memphis and in Chattanooga. But I got to do a good number of tapings with them and traveled a weekend up into Kentucky, up in the Appalachian part of Kentucky, Hazard, Harlan. Help me out here. Not Princeton, but the other town that starts with a P over in that area. But anyway, we worked a town in northern East Tennessee, and they were always very hospitable and very nice to me. And the one thing I remember about Lanny was the youngest of the crew back then, and was very smart. In fact, I think they were all very bright people. They were all very well educated and very smart people. But I think Lanny was just a little bit above. I mean, he was well educated, well spoken, great vocabulary. But he used to kid me and in fact, I tweeted this when I heard of his passing. He used to kid me in the locker room because I graduated from Vanderbilt, and he used to say, "Well, what is a Vanderbilt guy doing in this business?" And he would always just give me that little snide smile, and I always thought a lot about him. And it was funny that Randy, you and I were on the show 2 weeks ago, I believe, talking about Lanny and and surviving, and then for this to all of a sudden just come down, it was quite disturbing and quite shocking. And then, of course, with what happened today, and that's why I wasn't paying a whole lot of time. I was listening to the match and watching part of it, but I was watching, I was looking over here on Twitter of something you and I talked about earlier this morning, Randy. And at some point in the show, I hope we get to comment on what is happening with the news and breaking news and social media, because I think it is something that we well need to address.
Let's get Pat's comment about that piece of business that we just saw. And then from Pat's comments, we'll go and I've already talked about the media situation, but you being from the son of a newspaper person, I think it's very important for us to deal with. And you missed my rant earlier that I said basically there's a lot of false information and lies out there, and that's not just with wrestling media, that's with all media. But I'm interested to know, we played the video before on Talking Memphis Wrestling, but that never gets old, does it, Pat?
I was sitting here thinking, and I hope this doesn't sound too esoteric. I'm not a well-educated guy. I mean, I didn't grow up with the classics and art and classical music and all that stuff. But when I look at painting, sometimes, certain things just pop out to you at different times. And I've seen that many times, and I love it. And I think Michael's characterization of his personal issues draw money is absolutely right. But the more I see that, the more I appreciate Lance. He just really held that whole thing together in so many ways and framed it in so many ways.
All right, today's editorial and personal views that are my personal views as well is Michael St. John, legendary broadcaster, and he's been nominated for the Tennessee Broadcasting Hall of Fame. We're excited about that as well. What is going on with the media these days? Man, it's heartbreaking.
For somebody, and you alluded to it, and I've probably beat this horse to death on this show in the past few years with you, but I was raised, my father was worked for Newhouse Publishing Company at one time, 174 newspapers coast to coast across America, most of which were dailies, everything from the Portland Oregonian to the Buffalo News to the Huntsville Times, New Orleans Times Picayune, a lot of newspapers. And I learned to read when I was 5 years old on the floor of my grandfather's house with a newspaper on the floor and my daddy with me and picking out words. And by the time I got to first grade, I could read the whole first grade reader because I had picked out those words on the floor out of a newspaper for a year and a half. And as I grew older and got into the broadcasting business, and his dad, like I said, after 43 years, retired from the Huntsville Times and Newhouse Publishing, and they were a very good company to work for. They took care of their employees very well. And he used to say to me when he was sick and I was having to take him to the hospital and for tests, or when he would be hospitalized and I'd sit and talk with him, it was just at the cusp at the beginning of MySpace was out there, and I think Facebook was about to come on the scene, and there maybe were a couple other things. And he made a comment to me more than one time, and he said, with social media or whatever, it was whatever they were calling it at that point. I don't think the social media thing had even been coined at that point. He said, he said, this may ruin America. This has a good chance of making this country just go away. And I was like, Dad, where's this coming from? At that point, he's 88 years old. And I'm thinking, well, no. What he was referring to was when he was working in the newspaper business, and up until probably close to the turn of the 20th to the 21st century, when you put a newspaper article together and put it in a newspaper, the facts, and this was a rule of Newhouse Publishing, the facts and the rules were, you could have a story, you could have a expose, you could have a deep dive, if you would, story. But if you had comments that you were making regarding someone, you had to reference where you got them. Now, when the newspaper article came out, you could say, according to my sources or according to sources to this newspaper or whatever the case may be. But behind the scenes, you, by golly, had to bona fide, certify, and recertify the fact that what you were reporting was true. Absolutely, 100%, to your best knowledge, true. Folks, that's going to hell in a handbasket in this country and across the world. Because and I call it F book. You guys know what the F stands for. I'm not on F book. Never will be on F book. Because to me, these are all texts coming in about Jerry Lawler. But to me, anybody can say anything about anybody. And if you put it down on F book or on Twitter or on whatever platform there is, it's the truth because people believe it, whether it's the truth or not. I could say right now that I saw Pat Trammell smack an elephant with a baseball bat on Brindley Mountain on Friday and put that in print, and by golly, it would be reprinted and across the whole spectrum of social media. And Pat, somebody's going to ask you if you hit an antelope with a baseball bat on Brindley Mountain before this time tomorrow, because people are going to believe it. And what happened with Jerry Lawler and Randy, I thank you for that call today. And I appreciate if you would, the pre-warning of what I was going to see, because I've been looking at Twitter tonight, and this is just Twitter because I don't Facebook. You guys know more about it. But the crap that was posted about my friend, your friend, and you folks that are watching this program's friend, Jerry Lawler, some of the stuff that was put up by people that are in this business or think they're into this business is absolutely asinine. Absolutely asinine. So there's my rant. And that's why I'm not on Facebook. And if it ain't true, don't post it. If you hear a rumor, and I heard a rumor this weekend. I heard on Friday night that Kevin Steele would be the next defensive coordinator at Alabama. I heard it from somebody that's pretty close to me, whose blood runs in the same veins that mine does. Okay. And I heard he was coming back. So Saturday I posted, will Kevin Steele be the next defensive coordinator at Alabama? ? Well, by Sunday, guess what? Everybody knew. Not that Michael started it, because it was all over the internet to begin with. But the fact of the matter is, that's okay in my book, because you're speculating, but you're not reporting that this is fact. some of the things that were reported about our friend Jerry Lawler today and his condition, especially early on, were absolute, positively abhorrible lies. And I forgive no one for that.
Very good words, and I think that needed to be said. And I think people should realize that you affect many people, because people share the post and that sort of thing. And we're talking about a situation that is a lot to prove. There's the real story is not out there. I mean, certainly a select number of people that's talked to the what word that I'm looking for, the power of the medical power of attorney and different people and longtime close friends. It's a ongoing issue, and obviously long live the king, and we need prayers, and he's doing good and he's improving. And folks, it is not as bad as they made it out to be, no doubt about it. We want to go to this revenge match. It was Dutch Mantell, Jerry Lawler's first appearance in Memphis at the Mid-South Coliseum in 3 months against Dundee and Landale. We'll watch that video right now.
Can I ask something?
Yes.
Okay, they got Lawler had lost a loser leave town match to Dundee.
Yes.
And so they brought him back early. That's what, just to clarify, that's what Eddie was talking about. You can sue me and all that.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
Let's play it. Let's play it, Adam.
Nature Boy, Buddy Landale. And brother, let me tell you something. The Mid-South Coliseum in Memphis, Tennessee is rocking and rolling with this exciting action. Lawler and Mantell fired up, Lance, and they hit that ring steaming.
Boy, I'll tell you, smoking is exactly right. Bill Dundee and Buddy Landale tried to grab an edge, but Lawler and Mantell came in there. Dundee throws a chair in the ring at Lawler and Mantell. Dutch picks it up, and the referee now dumps it back out of there.
Give me that mic. Give me that damn mic. Here, Bill. Hey.
As the bell is sounded, Dundee came over, his big shot, knocking the announcers around, but Lawler and Mantell come in rocking. Lance, you had to put this down to get away from Dundee. He's insane.
Oh, I'll tell you what, Billy is just letting it all get to him till he is sick. Another chair heaved in there. Boy, I'm telling you. Used to have a little respect, Randy, for Dundee because the guy is such a terrific talent for his physical size, but he has gone berserk, absolutely. And I still think the analysis was correct. He thought he had everything his way. Somebody came back in here and it was going to challenge him a little bit. He had to fall in eye with Mantell, and he can't stand it. Just can't stand it. Jerry Lawler in, Buddy Landell crawls through. Nobody can keep him quiet, Bill. Good night. They came here to see exactly this. Dundee looking around for another chair or a ball bat or something. Lawler and Landell. Woo! And Landell nailed Dundee. Lawler got out of the way. Boy, he nailed Dundee good. Landell was going to fool Lawler after the first one and get right back on him. He's checking Billy over. Dundee's one eye is already still about half closed. Lawler waiting on Landell to come back in here. Well, I'll tell you, it's hard to concentrate on the match, having to look out for Dundee and Landell, Randy.
Listen to that.
Yeah. Landell saying, oh, I could beat him just like that, and snapped his fingers if I wanted to. Well, they tie up in the middle of the ring. There's a tag on the Dutchman, who grabs Landell's arm and rips him. Can assure you that Mantell has no fond feelings for Buddy Landell. Mantell didn't even like Landell when they were wrestling and supposed to be halfway friends along with Dundee. Buddy in the corner, ripped with a right hand from Lawler. Dutchman goes after Dundee. Boy, and Dutch firing that foot out there, kicks Landell down. Lawler setting up for a pile driver, and the referee Jerry Calhoun grabs him. He's counting on him. So Lawler settles for letting loose and ripping Landell one. Jerry cuts him off as he was going to tag Dundee. Coming up as we pass the 4.5-minute mark, on the 5-minute mark. And Landell firing back on Lawler. Tag on Dundee. Big slam. Dundee on the top rope. And Bill hits the mat as Lawler gets out of the way. Lawler saying, oh yeah, I was waiting on you. Rips Bill with that right hand. Picks Dundee up. Nails him in that eye again. Goes on the floor after him. Just the kind of war we figured you'd be seeing. And here it is. Woo! And the Dutchman.
All is Wild and Woolly Brawl. Your thoughts on that brawl, Pat Trammell?
It's a perfect wrapping up of that angle. And as you all know, I'm a huge Buddy Landell fan, and I know he kind of rebounded in Memphis after his WCW debacle. But boy, he could have been here for a lot of years and just been great. That was the four best people you could have in that angle.
And we'll get Michael's comments on that in just a few minutes. 8:15. We're going to 9 o'clock today. We may not get every video. I want to talk about blood and professional wrestling, different videos I want to get in. But Pat, I'm going to have you, if you would do the honors, I'm going to have you catch everybody up with our last comments, our friends that are making comments on Talking Memphis Wrestling. So will you do the honor for us right now, Pat?
I'll be happy to. Well, something popped up on my computer. Al was echoing my thoughts on Buddy. Frog is not being complimentary of WWE because it does not have the heat that this had, and he's absolutely right. As Jerry Allen says, that's why I like old school wrestling. This is as good as it gets. So just a lot of our friends commenting on this angle and these matches, and the getting Lawler out of town and bringing him back. If you know, Randy, I know he was working while he was off, but was this a planned holiday, or how did that work?
No, if they can't miss you if you never leave. It's the whole deal. They needed something to work toward a major angle, and they didn't know exactly what that major angle was going to be. But yeah, no. And he wrestled in different places in the country, and he went to Hawaii and different places, but certainly they had to cut the exit off because the business dropped down. I wanted that match and the reaction from that sellout crowd. The sellout crowd that was the last sellout for Memphis Wrestling at the Mid-South Coliseum. Comments now from our star of the show. You know that I would get it in sometime. Michael St. John, your thoughts on that action?
You better be ribbing me with that star stuff. That's all I got to say. You see a match like that and you look, I've got on the TV, I got NXT up today and watched some more NWA on YouTube the other day and some of this other stuff that's going around. And, I hate to beat again to just reiterate, but
we've lost your audio, Michael. Lost your audio.
Sorry about that. The cat sat across the board here. You just don't see that what we were accustomed to seeing in wrestling anywhere anymore. And it's sad. I think it's a sad comment on our industry, on what we love. But, when I watch that and I see these guys keep that audience on the tip top of their seats, they're all standing, they're all screaming, they're all into it. And then I turn on something on Wednesday night and it's a double flip backdrop off the top rope, top the ceiling, off the wall, through the hoop and down on the floor. And, before the match starts, there's a 4-way on the floor and people are going everywhere and taking bumps and getting finishing maneuvers and jumping up like they just got hit with a marshmallow. I don't buy it. And I got a feeling that the rest of what real wrestling fans are all about aren't buying it either. And you can tell that by half empty arenas and some pay-per-views. Now, the Royal Rumble was an exception. But, guys, what we just witnessed in those few minutes that we just saw is as good as it ever got. And again, the Memphis territory was always one step above and one step better than anything else you saw on TV. And I think that's because of the people involved.
One of the things I certainly don't want to do, I don't want to discourage anybody watching modern wrestling, and most of the viewpoints except for mine is real 90% of the time very negative. Our comments from our fans are very negative. about modern wrestling, and I realize that, and I think everybody has the right, because if I wanted to have this show just with about things, certainly only my opinion, I could do that because I control who's on the show, and I could certainly on comments that's up there, I could just have Adam not put them up from our viewers. So I think it's a healthy, but I disagree with mostly what Michael had just said. And the reason I did that is one thing I can name several. There's a lot of great modern wrestling. The style has evolved, and I don't like the style as good, and I don't like the matches as good. But some of this stuff, and I have multiple friends in most of the companies, TNA, Ring of Honor, AEW, WWE, certainly. Obviously, Pat ran the financials earlier. Wrestling might not be successful in the means it used to be. People like good wrestling. I saw one of the best things I've seen in years on YouTube. Well, actually, I watched the video of the Monday Night Raw show. They did a great deal with Cody Rhodes and Paul Heyman building for WrestleMania. Also for the Bloodline thing that Michael obviously very strongly put that over last week and everything they're doing. There's absolutely great wrestling. There's Mark Briscoe, and there's Jay Lethal, and there's good stuff doing. Some stuff that's done, I hate it. And one of the things about AEW wrestling, now I'm kind of fussing and ranting and raving about being negative about modern wrestling. And guess what? I'm about to be negative on Memphis wrestling. I'm going to do it on not on Memphis wrestling, on current wrestling. Because first of all, and there's people like my good friend Frank that mentions the kind of the magic trick of how there's blood in wrestling. Mentions that all. And I'm a blood and guts booker, and one of the things that I did, and I'm uncomfortable talking about the magic trick and how it's doing, and I probably won't talk a lot about that. And we talk of blade, we talk of the word using gigging, and I guarantee you, I didn't hear the word gigging in a wrestling dressing room maybe 3 times in my life. You just say, hey, how about some color tonight? I want to show a picture that I didn't just ask the talent or sacrifice everybody of doing something that I wouldn't do. And Adam, I think that bloody picture is in the photos of Randy or H Bloody. Can you put that up there? This was in Louisville, Kentucky. It resulted in a riot. I look half dead, absolutely half dead. Blood and wrestling, I loved it. Now, yeah, the toothpaste is out of the tube. It's ridiculous. I hate it, but we can't do anything about it. That was a situation that drew money all throughout this territory, did great business in Louisville, and as a matter of fact, a near riot. And afterwards, the police came down to the dressing room and say, Randy, we had a problem. I was looking just like that. I actually cleaned up a little bit, went to the first aid room. They helped clean me up a little bit, but I was still messy. And I said, what's the problem? They said they're fans in the back alley at the Louisville Gardens, and they're saying they're going to kill the Rock and Roll Express. We got to get them out of the building. So we had a police car come to the front of the building. Everybody was in the back. We snuck the Rock and Roll out in a police car. Then we had a policeman get the keys from the Rock and Roll. They got in the car because the people weren't going to try to kill the cops. Maybe they will these days, but it was a great thing. And red turns into green, and money is a big part about the professional wrestling industry back in the day. People were so politically correct and don't want to offend nothing. Wrestling's meant and made back in the day to be offensive, to make people mad, to make people riot. that's an example of that picture, and I think we have a bloody picture of Tommy Rich, to one of the great leaders in professional wrestling, and that's that picture too. And certainly, I think Frank is obsessed with bleeding. The best bleeders are the ones that you can't tell how they. There's that word I'm not going to say. Panetta says the blood is scary. Kurt says the younger generation doesn't understand less is more. I don't think Tommy went less with that. In my pictures, we switch back to that. I didn't understand it at all. Tony Edwards says storytelling and building the storyline was much better back in the 80s wrestling. There we go again. Pat, your comments on blood and wrestling.
I think there's a place for it. I've always thought there's a place for it, but not every day and not every angle.
I forgot one thing in that rant. I got so fired up. Let's go back to me. One thing I forgot in a rant. WWE rarely or if ever does it. They did a situation that was obviously just one of the most embarrassing things. And I don't know if it was the production people's fault or John Moxley's fault or whose fault it is. I'll say all of them. I'll say Moxley and the production thing, because on a national wrestling television program, and the point that I was going to make earlier, and I got so damn fired up, I missed my point. After putting over AEW the week before and talking about what they had in Mark Briscoe and the great show they had, and it was fantastic, and Michael called it Tony Khan's best effort. You have to string more than one show in a row together, and I thought this past Dynamite sucked. I thought it absolutely sucked, and it was embarrassing to the wrestling business, absolutely embarrassing to the wrestling business, that they caught the magic trick being exposed. Absolutely one of the worst things I've ever done in my life. And the Jerry Jarretts, the Nick Goulas, the Vern Gagnes, the Randy Hills, I can name any promoter ever. If that would have happened on their television, a cameraman would have been fired, a wrestler would have been fired, somebody would have been fired. No doubt about it. Blood and wrestling, Michael.
Well, I agree with Pat, and I think it is well when it's placed well and is part of the storyline and is there to, again, draw money. I think it's imperative that Juice is a part of the business. Like you said, Randy, I mean, the business is the business, and people are trying to water down or placate or embarrass or destroy the business in many cases. But I think I think when you get Juice in a match, it should mean something. It should mean something. And when it also should not only mean something in the storyline, but it should surprise and or shock the audience to say, oh my God, he got hurt. Or, I like the angles when when Juice is used, when it looks like the wrestler has been A, injured, or B, deliberately beat to a pulp. And those to me are the two best reasons for getting Juice. But, you see some Juice on some national programs over the past few years now. The WWE until recently, I think by the bounds of the USA Network and maybe somebody else, they weren't allowed to get Juice. And if they got Juice, it was the hard way. And many times it would stop the match. But
the rule was if they got it hard way, the camera people weren't allowed to show the blood. I mean,
right.
Certainly they're getting a little more mature in their audience, but I still have not seen blood on WWE TV. Have you?
I think we saw it. I think one time last year there's somebody, and I think it was part of the storyline, but it wasn't like a gusher. It was just somebody got injured, quote unquote, injured in the match. But other than that, no. And I always refer to my late friend, the Sheik, and to him, he was all about Juice in every match. In fact, I was on a card that he was running right before Nick left the business, and he had Zeb in to book, and every match. We had 4 matches on the card at the fairgrounds in Nashville, and every match had Juice, and that to me was too much. But he was one of those hardcore believers that red met green, and he was a very successful promoter doing it. So maybe there was something to that.
One of the things Al is saying is that he hopes the WWE goes private again across the company, and it's a private company, so they can blood again. And to tell you the truth, they might not be able to, because they had a policy of anti-blood for the most part long before they went public. It's a TV station call, a call of the networks. That's the way I understand it, Michael.
If you'll remember, that got Dusty fired from WCW.
Yes,
when he was booking.
Well, I think one of the most famous stories that made the rounds about Memphis wrestling, when Jerry Jarrett was trying to extend the territory and was thinking about going into Cincinnati, which had been dark for many years, and going into Cincinnati and maybe Indianapolis and some other of those southern Midwest towns. And he went, and in fact, I knew the manager that actually did this at Channel 12, WKRC TV in Cincinnati. Lance Russell went in with a tape of Memphis wrestling, and he got an appointment with the general manager. And Lance, carried a lot of weight in the television business because he was a well-respected television programmer, much longer and much quicker in his life than he was a famous and world famous and now historically famous wrestling announcer. And he got these appointments with people through people he knew in the television business. And he went to show the tape of Memphis wrestling in Cincinnati. And he went before the general manager at WKRC Channel 12. And he said, he's talking to him, making his pitch, and his TV people to TV people. He said, I want to show you why wrestling is not on my television station. And he pulled out a VCR, one of the big 2-inch VCRs tapes, and put it in the machine in his office and pushed the play button. And it was one of the Chic shows that played in Dayton and Cincinnati on their on the stations they owned. And it was just gory and then he did the thing with the snake, and it was garbage. And couldn't get wrestling back on for years, for decades in Southern Ohio because of what had been exposed in the gore arena, if you would, of professional wrestling. But again, Juice, when it means something, sells tickets and means a lot to the fans. That's what I say about that.
All right.
Was there, Randy, could I ask you something? And Michael, if you know, my memory, and the first Juice I ever saw in wrestling was an angle in Birmingham where I think it was the Greens. It was the old wreck the opponents, have somebody run them off the road. Robert Fuller and Jimmy Golden were late for their match. They came in all beat up and cut up. I don't remember a lot of Juice or blood on the TV shows. Most of what I remember seeing that impressed me, made an impression on me, not impressed me, but made an impression on me was video of the Monday night or the Saturday night, or Sunday night at the Omni or Monday night at the Coliseum. Am I misremembering?
Well, they did it more at the house than they did at TV. That was reserved for special occasions. Did not happen a whole lot on television, but did happen.
Right.
Well, when it did happen on TV, it was the shock value. And back then we didn't have shock jocks, and we weren't exposed to the shocking, or what is no longer shocking. I mean, to me, the video with Sam Smith on the Grammys the other night, and you guys have heard about it, the quote unquote demonic video, that to me is shocking in this day and time. But back then, somebody getting Juice on TV, you spoke about the first time, Pat, you ever saw anybody get Juice. I was probably 9, 10 years old, watching Channel 8 wrestling in Nashville before it was Channel 2, with Nick Goulas wrestling on Saturday night at 10:30. And there was a match with Joe Scarpa, who ended up being Chief J. Strongbow.
J. Strongbow.
Chief J. Strongbow,
And,
yeah.
And Joe Scarpa was wrestling, and they were wrestling against the Fabulous Fargos, Jackie and Sonny Fargo, against Joe Scarpa and I think Lynn Rossi. And Scarpa, they threw Scarpa out of the ring, and the Fargos posted him. And he came out, and he was just bloody. And I was like, oh, my God, this guy. And he sold it, and Scarpa was acting like he was out of his head and about to pass out in the whole 9 yards. But it was building up an event that was coming up at the Hippodrome Arena in Nashville for a match, between those two, or, a revenge match, a return match, whatever. The Falls County, anywhere, they had a stipulation after that. But that was the first time I saw it. I was like, whoa. But then I don't remember seeing it again a lot. I remember one time, and it was a wild melee, and the show went off right as it happened. But the interns were involved, and one of the interns got juice under the mask, which I thought was horribly effective, because all of a sudden you've got white guys on white with white outfits head to toe, and then there's red that's seeping all through the mask on the top. And I thought that was a very effective use of blood and juice, and how you were expected to promote something.
I remember the same thing at the at Boutwell Auditorium with the interns one time. Yeah, and it was very effective.
Randy, when was the first time you ever saw juice used in a match?
The first time I went to wrestling in Jonesboro in 1971, it was Terry and Ron Garvin against Eddie Marlin and Thomas Marlin. And that was the first event that I ever saw live wrestling in Jonesboro on Washington Street at the American Legion Arena, not too far from my childhood home. I'm going to let everybody know as we get to the final stages of this show, and I've decided to make this a two-parter. We do have more programming coming up and two very interesting videos coming up next. But I'll be honest with you, I was on the phone very late last night after I got the disturbing call about the situation with a friend, Jerry Lawler, last night. And I slept very, very, very little last night. Plus, I haven't ate in hours, and I need to get that done. And we're going to play two more videos, and this is a two-parter, and it's very good stuff. The Bill and Buddy Show on Talking Memphis Wrestling.
Jerry Lawler, Dutch Mantel, in the big Texas death battle, defeat Bill Dundee and Buddy Landell. And boy, I'll tell you what, that is some fierce kind of action where the falls don't count and you just go till somebody can't. And they did it again, however. Rugged bout, no question about that. Well, now, isn't that nice? No. You know better than that. I have no intention of coming over there. You want a mic? There's a mic right there.
Well, we figured you wouldn't do that. We figured you wouldn't talk to us. Well, you ain't going to talk to anybody all day long. Just don't be a waste sport, because we figured you'd be through chicken Russell. Just sit right there.
My curiosity is up. I got to admit that. Dressed in suits and the whole thing. Dundee and Landell. What is this? Now, what in the Sand Hill do you guys think you're going to do with that? The Bill and Buddy Show.
Bell, Budrow, we need us a bell. I ain't going to hit you, Russell. I don't even like you.
Hey, fine. You want to, go right ahead. You got 5 years of your life to spend.
We need you a microphone, Budrow. Don't go away.
What is all of the...
All right, here we go now. Okay, you got a format, Budrow? Okay. You ain't going to talk to us? You ain't going to talk to nobody.
Hey.
Okay, I'll be Dave Brown, you be Lance Russell, because Dave rings the bell. Here we go. Get him out here.
Okay, fans, an exciting match coming up. Next
match coming up, folks. All right, you're looking at the Buddy Landell and the Bill Dundee Hour, Daddy. Lance Russell and Dave Brown don't want to talk to us. They ain't going to talk to nobody. Now, here's two young gladiators coming, Garmin and Thriller. Big, powerful devil, old Joe LeDuc. Hi, Joe.
Hey, Joe.
You got to be the strongest man in wrestling, Joe. Are you going to climb a mountain? How are you? Buddy Landell. Yes, sir, we took over.
We own Memphis, Daddy. They don't have no opponent for me, so... There it is.
All right.
He's got to be the strongest man in wrestling, Bill. Besides us.
Okay, here we go. The bell time. Hey! I always wanted to do this, Budrow.
I love it.
Joe got things there like a big horse collar.
Do they actually get paid doing this?
Well, I don't know, but okay. Joe LeDuc going away in about 285. Moves pretty good for a big fella, don't he?
He sure does.
Well, old Garvin, well, Budrow,
you was pretty good, Bill. I can do it just a little bit better, I believe, Bill.
I believe your arm's a little bit bigger than Joe's. Now, Joe's strong. We're not knocking him, brother. He's strong.
We'd be the last people in the world to knock anybody, Bill. You know that.
Old Garvin looked like he just run into a brick wall. Good legal move there. Good legal move, Joe. That was it, brother. Very good. Budrow, the only guy in professional wrestling that hits harder than Joe LeDuc, I believe, is you.
And you don't forget that one punch Jeff Jarrett suffered. Remember that, Bill? One punch Dundee, baby.
Yeah,
one punch Dundee.
Got in our face one time on television.
That's right. We sat.
And he's crippled old dad, but one eye came down trying to help me.
Hey, we got our own problem.
Now, this is Strailer. I believe this is Strailer. I think another good scientific move off LeDuc. Well, I don't think that's going to work, kids. Joe doesn't throw a bad punch, does he?
Good. We taught him well. We taught him.
Oh, now, that was a judo chomp, Budrow. I believe he's trying to get a little bit of the nature boy in him now. But it was a good chomp, and we're going to give him that.
But it ain't no nature boy, baby.
Lance Russell and Dave Brown get paid for this?
They actually get paid for this, Bill.
Hey, look at them eyes on Joe. I don't think anybody's home up there. That elevator don't go all the way to the top. What you think?
Yeah, the lights on, but ain't nobody home, baby.
Oh, now, we got to give him credit there, Budrow. That was a good drop kick from a 285-pound monster. Very good drop kick.
Bill, you think by looking in his eyes he'd kill his own mama, don't you?
For a quarter, brother, for a quarter.
We'd do it for cheaper than that, wouldn't we, baby?
Very good, Joe. We ain't being biased, but I believe this is about over. Very scientific move there, buddy.
Oh,
scientific.
We got to fit that one into our repertoire, Bill.
Well, we got to give them two kids A for effort or G for guts or something, because just to get in there with him is something.
That's exactly right.
I believe he's just going to make LeDuc mad. I think, I don't know. They're putting on a pretty good showing, Budrow. But I believe you and I would have them both knocked out by now, right?
Yeah. Bill, we could have beat him in 5 seconds.
Well, you got to give the boy... Oh, I think they made a mistake. Bye-bye. Well, what's happening now? Good right. We got to give him credit there, brother. It was a good right, Budrow.
He wasn't no superstar, though, right?
No, and it was no nature boy, but, for a big old dumb Canadian, he ain't bad, though.
Hey, baby, there ain't a Canuck out there that can outdo the nature boy and the superstar, baby.
Is that something you eat or what? Oh, now he's pretty strong.
Bad boy,
oh, my God, look. Oh, I believe that boy's dead.
Oh, yeah, that boy.
I'm going to ring it, Calhoun. I'm going to ring it. I know what to do. What for? The boy jumped over the top rope. What's wrong with you? Anyway,
you better call in the National Guard, baby.
Come and get this garbage out of here. We got to interview Joe LeDuc.
Get the janitor in here and sweep his puke up off the floor.
Get in here, brother.
Over the top, Joe.
It was good, too. It's dead. Joe. Come on over here, Joe. That was very good, Joe. Very good. You've got to be the strongest guy in professional wrestling. Now, Budrow, I don't think Budrow has ever seen this, but I have. You know what this is, buddy?
I don't have any idea.
Joe puts one. Oh, look now. Here comes Eddie Marlin in the troops. Get the garbage out of here, Marlin.
Bag of potatoes. Get a whisper in this sweep that puke off the floor. All them country boy and muscle head. You like to pull some on me. You like to put my arms apart. Well, dog, them farmers and everybody that think they're strong. Just come on and take some of Jola.
All right, you know what he's going to do, brother? He's going to take 10 guys, and anybody that wants to come down there and challenge him this week and pull them apart gets $500. Well, Budrow, we're in charge of the show. I guess we take us a little break. We'll be right back.
Hey, there's a second part of this, and we're going to watch that right now, and then we'll be back with Pat and Michael.
Okay, folks. No, you ain't imagining things. This is Buddy Landell and Bill Superstar Dundee. And we fired Lance Russell and Dave Brown. Get out of here, baby. Look at your sheet, Budrow. What's next? We got a little thing here. What does it say now, Budrow?
It says the Lawler video spot.
The Lawler. Oh, no. We ain't doing that. That's out. That's out. We ain't just scribble that out, Budrow. We ain't doing that. That ain't
We'll
really
just let
done.
him look at our pretty faces
Okay.
for a while.
Now we got a match coming on up here because we ain't doing no spot for Jerry Lawler. I'll tell you.
Says it on the format, and we got to run it. We got to run it. We have to.
Well, okay, folks, in TV land, if you're going to go make a cup of coffee, if you got to go to the little boys' little girls' room, or you just got to take a nap, this is the perfect time to do it because the guy upstairs is going to run it anyway, so go ahead.
Hi, everybody. This is Jerry the King Lawler. And the people at Independent Media Marketing have put together a very special video just for all my fans out there. If you order it right now, you're going to get 60 minutes of wrestling's heart and soul. You're going to see on it some of my most spectacular entrances into the different arenas and coliseums, and also a match that has become a classic all across the country. It happened in Tupelo, Mississippi, and it happened in the concession stand. Also, you're going to see some of my greatest moves, including the big pile driver, and the match that, well, that everybody in the world talked about. The Andy Kaufman feud is all included on there. Also, you're going to see a showdown match with one of my toughest opponents ever, the wild man from Texas, Terry Funk, and it was a bloody and brutal battle. Also, you're going to see some of my most vicious opponents that I've ever faced, including guys like Jimmy Valiant and Joe LeDuc. And then you're going to see the big Jimmy Hart loser leave town match, the match in which I went against Eddie Gilbert to get rid of Jimmy Hart from this area once and for all. You're going to see the King throw the fire. You're going to see wrestling's first music video and much, much.
And that came out. Now, Dundee and Mantell came out, and I didn't realize that video cut off at that time. It ended up in a wild and woolly brawl. The Bill and Buddy show. What did you think, Pat Trammell?
You know, that's been done before, but I really thought they did a great job with it, and I liked it a lot.
Yeah, I did too. I thought it was great. Michael, your comments on the Bill and Buddy show.
Well, you know, and I think this goes back to Jerry Lawler and to Jerry Jarrett and their style and the way they produced Memphis wrestling. I know in doing some of the commentary for them over the years, every now and then they like to insert a little comedic angle to what they were doing, almost to what amounted to making fun of themselves. And I think every time they did it was very, very good. It was great television, but it was very, very good and played into the storyline of what was going on. And it wasn't all just serious blood and guts and wrestling and this and that. Every now and then, and Randy, I think you knowing Jerry Jarrett the way you do, and knowing Jerry Lawler and Jerry's brilliant mind, is every now and then there was a little comic relief.
Yeah, absolutely. And if it's few and far between, I think it adds to it. I think it's a variety type of situation. Been a fun show today, and one of the things I've enjoyed most about this show started in a situation where we were down to business talking about the Jerry Lawler situation. Prayers out, please, everybody, for Jerry Lawler. Things are looking good. How many weeks, Pat, did you miss talking Memphis wrestling?
I believe I missed the past 3 weeks. I think I was on the first week of the new year, and I don't think I've been on since.
Well, it was good to have you back. I enjoyed the show today, and we'll continue 86 into 87 next week on Talking Memphis Wrestling. Pat, hopefully you'll be back with us next week, and you won't be busy doing that banking business, for heaven's sakes. Your day job.
well, what basketball has held me up. But basketball season's in all probability over Thursday night. So anyway, but I enjoyed being back, and I appreciate my friends here, and you guys mean an awful lot to me. Not just Michael and Randy, which they do, but all our friends that join us, and I get a lot of happiness and pleasure and energy from you, and thank you so much for being here with us.
It's fun as always, and we continue the timeline of Memphis wrestling. And certainly, Michael St. John, what I hope you don't have a radio station next week that go off the air where you have a major disaster. I was impressed with how quick that you got that up and running.
Well, what we do with our staff, and I'm grateful to have wonderful people, and we work together, and we all love each other. We're sort of like family, and we haven't changed a person at our radio station in almost 7 years.
Oh,
and
my goodness.
in this business, Pat knows what I'm talking about. In any business in this day and time, that's pretty amazing. But when something like going off the air happens, I was on my way back from Decatur. I was actually on the phone, and somebody called in, and it was my operations guy. And when he calls in, I know it's 5:00, 5:15 in the afternoon. He's already left to go home. So he's got to tell me something that needs to be taken care of. So I said, hey, I was talking to a friend of mine, used to be my engineer in Nashville. And I was talking to him about a piece of equipment down in Gadsden. And I said, Bob, hold on. I get up to Adam, and Adam said, hey, we're off the air. And you're closest to it. So I was at the station. It took me about 11 minutes to get there. Called the engineer, called our IT guy, did some work myself. Said, is this working? Is that working? And it was just one of those things where sound was coming out of the computer, but wasn't getting out to the radio station.
That's
but
not
it was
good.
fixed in a matter of time. So it was good.
I'm glad it's back on the air and appreciate you spending your Tuesday nights with us. You, Chris, and Pat. As Al says, the band was back together again. Final comments from Michael St. John tonight. I'm going to get some sleep tonight, and I'm going to get some food in a few minutes. That's my plans. What's your plans, Michael? Then your final comments.
My plans are to fall down on my knees before I go to bed tonight and thank God for giving Jerry Lawler the strength and the love and the support to recover from what has just happened. And my thoughts and prayers are with him. My thoughts and prayers are with his son. My thoughts and prayers are with the friends and the close friends of Jerry. And that's the one thing I'm going to do tonight. I promise you, before I put my head on a pillow. I promise you I'll do that.
And I think we should all do that. Absolutely.
But in the meantime, I just want to thank you. And it's great seeing Pat. And as always, well, here we go. I've got a phone call coming in. But just FYI, it's great seeing you guys. And I hope that we will all be able to work together in the form of Tuesdays. And I thank you for allowing me to be a few minutes late to get the station back on the air. But Randy, thank you for a wonderful opportunity to talk with these people. And I want to thank our listeners and people that follow this show. You are devoted. You're great fans. You are mainstays of our business in professional wrestling. And without you, there's nothing to talk about. So thank you again. And please, everybody, and I know you're doing this already, but say that little special prayer. It's special for Jerry right now.
Thanks, Michael. Appreciate it very much. And thank you, Pat, for another very successful, fun, entertaining edition of Talking Memphis Wrestling. Thanks a lot, guys. I
God bless.
appreciate it.
Good night, everybody.
I wanted to let everybody know that today I've had several phone calls, and one of the phone calls that I got after he recorded a 4.5-hour podcast, I did have an opportunity to talk to my friend Jim Cornette, and he wanted a update on the Jerry Lawler situation. So I talked to Jimmy, and as I've been talking and doing this program today, talking Memphis wrestling, I have received texts from Jeff Jarrett checking certainly on the situation with Jerry Lawler. Again, we keep telling everybody, make sure that you say your prayers and you have your great thoughts as well. Now, as we do the plug-in part of this show, I will be doing Front Row with Bud Rowe tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock Central Standard Time on the NEA Sports Talk on the Front Row with Bud Rowe on the Ticket Radio Network. It's on 96.9 FM, 95.3, and 970 AM. It is also on the World Wide Web at 953theticket.com. You can call in. My hour is 9 o'clock Central to 10 o'clock, and it's 870-930-3776. 870-930-3776. Call and talk some wrestling, and Bud and Randy Myers will put you on the air, and I will be thrilled to death to talk to you about that as well. We want to talk about, as I mentioned earlier, the Randy Hales YouTube channel and the incident we saw with Jeff's introduction in wrestling and the emotional interview that not only Jerry Jarrett did, the Eddie Marlin came out and did the thing. It was Jeff Jarrett's first angle. It ended up in a sellout at the Mid-South Coliseum. There's a part of that wasn't on the YouTube video. The whole complete show is on there, and I think you will enjoy that. It is at youtube.com/@RandyHales. Also, you can keep up with us, as the majority of the people watching this feed does, on the Randy Hales Facebook page. There you go. I have to get to that at randyhales.79. Check that out. At RB Hales on Twitter and at Randy Hales on YouTube, the Randy Hales channel on Twitch, and we're all over the place. The Power Pro Wrestling Facebook page and the Talking Memphis Wrestling Facebook page. Power Pro Wrestling watch along next Monday night, 7 o'clock, the 1-year anniversary show number 52. And then we'll be back here as we will finish up 1986, and we will do 1987, get that started. This is always fun. Appreciate Chris Ellis for returning. Appreciate Michael St. John that was here tonight, and thank you very much. The returning Pat Trammell did a great job tonight, and appreciate that analysis of the WWE business. Very, very, very interesting indeed. Thank you for the person in Georgia, the Peach State, because Adam cussed me like a dog for saying Peachtree State. Al cussed me like a dog for saying Peachtree State. But if Gordon Soley could do it, I could do it too. It's been a great show. We'll see you next time. Everybody be safe. Pray for the King tonight, everybody. Appreciate it. And we're out of here. Thanks a lot. Power Pro Wrestling, Talking Memphis Wrestling, the best of its kind. Good night, everybody.
Talking Memphis Wrestling with Randy Hales and special guests.